But let's take a look at our veto and see which map we're going to be playing on for this best of one series between historically two of the best teams in the world, but right now going through some changes, and these are again big times of change for many teams, especially for Europe. This is the kind of slap in the face that you might have needed to get back into shape after the performance of the past year. So there's Theme Park banned out for Team Empire, Borders out, Cafe is out, which means we're gonna play Coastline. Parker, hell of a classic map between these two.
Yeah, I've got very fond memories of these two teams. Playing here. Some less fond than the others, where I committed 2 hours of my life to a single matchup between these two teams, and then another where Empire ended up striking back, if I can use that term again, against G2 at the Raleigh Major. So yeah, this is going to be very interesting, and it's also a rematch from Playdate number 7. It was a 7-4 score for G2 on Coastline against Empire to close out the very first half of this season of Pro League. So we're going back. These two teams are literally going to have their rematch on the same map that they played on, a map that they played on at the Six Invitational, a map that they played on at the Raleigh Major, a map that they seem to love playing against each other, and it's a decently common map for both of them. But before we get into the actual matchup, let's see how you voted, because we do have the community vote, and I wouldn't be too surprised to see G2 win this one, just because they do tend to be a very popular team and they haven't lost to Empire Online. But we'll see what the people have to say, and well, no surprise, 61 to 30%.
That is a huge difference, I have to say. Team Empire, I mean, they still beat Na'Vi, even if they had their mistakes on Coastline. But honestly, this sort of this poll here is done without map knowledge. Nobody knew that it was Coastline, so honestly, I might tend to agree on this. Empire had a lot of holes in their strategies when playing against Na'Vi, and I don't know that these are things that would be allowed when playing against G2, but I'm really curious. I really don't know how to call this one here. Just because G2's roster is so fresh, I still think it's very unfair to judge it so early on in its change, specifically since it is such a major overhaul of the way that they're playing and roles and players and such. Here's our first ban. It's a Lion off of Team Empire. And yeah, it's the same ban that they had before. You'd be expecting a Mira from their defense. What's the first ban from G2? It's going to be a Capital.
So no Hibana ban that's coming out, which is, I don't want to use the word interesting, but is definitely going to affect the way that teams play here. Hibana is a very common ban. Even though we don't always see hard breachers get brought on Coastline, a lot of teams that are very adept at pushing and working with one another are capable of pulling this off without a hard breacher. You just need to make sure that you double, triple up on that soft destruction. So just simply leaving a Hibana on the board means that hookah billiards bomb site might be a little bit more susceptible to counterplay, or rather to attacks from the attackers, and create limited counterplay for the defenders, just because of the fact that, well, you're not going to have the safety and comfort of that cocktail wall upstairs. You're not going to have it. So if a team runs a Hibana, that is. Right now, G2's immediate lineup, there's no Hibana present, and I would be very surprised if we do see hard destruction get brought in part by G2.
Yeah, specifically a team like G2, just because you're practicing a lot and just running without that heart breach. As you mentioned, that we mentioned 1,000 times so far in 1,000 different cases on Coastline, this is the map where you can just play with zero heart breach and still be completely fine. It's mostly about controlling the soft breach and zoning your opponents from below, specifically when it comes to hookah. The most played site on this map, and you have a Maestro, you have a lot of intel. So what you need to do on the attack for G2 is to come in, take control of blue and, Cool Vibe Stairs themselves, but specifically blue bar. And from there, use your Buck, use your Ash, use your Zofia. All of these three operators are great ops on this map. And I think the combination of those three is perfect for Coastline. I don't really think that you need anything more than that. Empire are not bringing the Wamai in this case, realizing that, hey, bringing the Maestro and the Echo might be the bigger deal, because at least we can put the Echo in positions where he cannot get shot from below, and bring the Wamai is not really going to give you too much of an advantage when on defense, because projectiles are not your biggest concern, let's say.
No, this is I was going to say, this is really standard stuff. We still have to, you and I actually will, well, actually, no, your delay with Emzo is probably going to be worse because he's farther away from you. If you think about it, I was going to say, we're going to have a pretty rough delay, but no, I guess that's not the case.
It's like a half second or something. So sometimes this is why, you know, it takes a second for one of us to kind of say something to the other. Sometimes it's just how it works. It's distance and geography. But Karjaka's taking a lot of damage there from pretty well placed shotgun shells from Pengu here with the C8. Grenade's going to be tossed in the back, and nobody inside of the Sunrise bar to take that grenade and have a bit of sad lunch. Karjaka, does he drop on the floor? No, actually, he's still alive. Citizen is going to take so much damage there, but Kenta Raketti will go for the finisher as the Zofia charge will bounce on the wall, and the splash damage will be more than enough to finish off the Bandit. That got really close to being a 1-1 trade. Maybe you can catch someone off on the rotation here, but G2 are going to start remodeling the entirety here of these bars. But look at the amount of holes that have been opened up by Empire. They're planning on this. They want to fight G2 as they're trying to enter into the bars. All top down from Billiards. It's just fantastic to see from Empire. I love the vertical pressure. It's kind of baiting G2 into the standard way of playing this, of pressure from below if you're playing on top.
I like that subtle nod that we see from Dan. This is the second matchup in a row where he's run that Fnatic charm, and that's, I think, just as to pay homage to the fact that, hey, we lost to them, we got knocked out by them, we can probably do just maybe a little bit better, and it's a constant reminder of exactly what happened. Anywho, you've still got the top control from G2, and they're sitting pretty. The lack of the hard breach means that you need to commit to that breach denial, or rather the fact that there's a lack of a hard breach ban means you have to commit to that hard breach denial, which is exactly what Karjaka is going to run. A Bandit, it's usually very strange to see a Bandit get run on this particular site, but everything is just getting obliterated right now around Empires. They've lost Dan. Uno had been taken out, but it was traded off onto joysticks. Scyther just guns down Citizen and immediately pivots towards the window inside of Hookah. We can't find anything. He's gonna be backed up by Shepard. They're at opposite ends of the world right now, and waiting very patiently is it's a very short backup from Virtue into the smoke. What was a lead for G2 has now become a 2v2, and Shepard will need to clutch out. He sees the position of 1, but he can't control the SMG-11 at all. Virtue will take out the very final member of Empire, and round 1 is going to go to G2.
Very well done there. Shepard in the first play day of EU of this split played immensely well for Team Empire. I mean, the man was absolutely on fire. So he's definitely someone to continue watching throughout this matchup, but G2 successfully taken to it, even with some unnecessary losses. The whole setup from Empire was supposed to be very reactive to what G2 tried to do, specifically when it comes to pressure, vertical pressure from below in the bars. Well done here from G2 as we're going to head into Kitchen. Pretty much the same lineup, but we're going to have the Legion brought in for Dan, so no Maestro in play. I'd assume you'd be sitting the Echo inside of Kitchen. You have plenty of spaces for him to sit in there and be relatively safe, but you're going to need to worry, again, vertical pressure. It's pretty much the same thing when it comes to any round on Coastline. Make sure that you're spreading players on that top floor, and Joystick is probably going to be playing inside of this theater room, and reinforcements even between the bedroom and the lounge. So circle couch is going to be important for Team Empire if they want to stick to this position. If anything, 90 and rotations into the cinema are going to be huge for Team Empire, and I'd only assume that Gumines will be placed all around this area, preventing anybody from just walking in through luggage and two-wing work from G2.
I suspect that a lot of this is going to come down to if you can get a lead-off C4 from any of the defenders here onto the play that's going to come for that soft destruction into Master, because Master does tend to be right over top of the bomb site, and the amount of control that a single team is capable of establishing just by grabbing Master and tearing up that floor is huge. You can flush members out of any team, regardless of who it is, out of service. You can push them out of the bathroom. You can cover that rotate if there's any setup that's possibly been made. over towards the bathroom, you can possibly deal with that, especially into the main lobby as well. So this could be troubling if you are Empire and you're not able to do anything about it. Dan had taken some early damage on. He also manages to take out what appeared to be an air jab that was situated by the security windows, and he expends one of his impact grenades in order to make that happen, which means that he can rotate a bit more freely, but the door is barricaded, so he'd have to get through that in the first place. I don't know if Virtue is aware. He might not be, but for now, it's just an awful lot of patience and drone work being assessed at the moment as to where people are going to push from. These are drones that are going to work very effectively in the latter portion of a round, and you'll have members of G2 swapping off to be able to take advantage of that intel that's been set up.
So there's Virtue trying to fire and find someone in the lobby, but just a general retreat from Team Empire right now as they're peeling back one by one, trying to burn as much time as humanly possible from G2. And actually, Pengu is going to find an opportunity and go in for a plant. Kanto Rocket is wasting no time. Pengu is going to get smoked away, and a Yokai drone will push him back, deny the plant from being set down. A 3v3 right now. A Scyther will take a lot of damage from Kanto Rocket, who now falls back into that B bomb site in the stock. He's got a long angle to use between the service entrance and the toilets. Stun grenade is going to be used. It's going to force Scyther off for just a moment, sitting behind that lobby entrance. And all players from G2 are full HP. Empire are just trying to find some advantageous positions. Too slow joystick here as he keeps on firing. The diffuser should get picked up any moment now. I wonder where the second Yokai drone is, as Uno's going to find one kill on Scyther. The Echo a bit too far back, but joystick connects on the headshot. Low on HP though is joystick, and Virtue is going to go for the plant. Kanto Rocket holding it tight, and Kajika is going to give his position away. Nitro Cell being thrown right in the face of Kanto as he takes no damage. This is going to confirm to Zofia. Their position now is the one to be. Karjeka takes so much damage, down to 20 HP, and they're going to split between the two sides. So run back. There's no reason to take the engagement. And there's Virtue. Goo Mine in the foot. Not enough to push him back. Karjeka will be shot down. G2, yet another round, and they have just been so good at reacting to Empire's setup.
Yeah, G2 have really had full control of both of those rounds, and Empire are looking, I don't want to say lost, but definitely not looking like the strongest team that they could be because of the way that we don't have these bans for maps. This is the second play day in a row that Empire is going to Coastline. So if you're G2, if you're Shas, if you're Sua, if you're Fresh, you are very likely looking quite keenly at the Na'Vi Empire matchup as to what mistakes Na'Vi was able to exploit on their 5 victories, and even on the rounds that Na'Vi lost, the ones that they came a little close on being able to possibly win. There's information here, and I mean, you in particular casted that matchup, so you'd have a much better experience firsthand than I would as to exactly what happened between those two teams, but man, oh man, Empire have they've taken damage early on, they've lost a pick early on, they haven't really been able to find their footing after that, and I don't know what it is with Empire over the last couple months. They just don't look like the same team that is as well coordinated as they used to be. It's the same thing that happened with G2. G2 used to go from being the team that was so formidable, able to trade off immediately, and just nobody could knock them down. But now, what we find is with Empire, is they're not working in unison the same way that they used to be. They're not supporting people like Dan or Joystick the same way that they used to. Karzeka has a bit of a streaky performance now. And it's very unfortunate for Empire and their fans because you want to see them do better, but there's something that is not working out in that same level of coordination that they used to have.
I completely agree, and I think you can see that, or we did see that in the game against Na'Vi, is that Empire, usually this team, they kind of pioneered the style of, hey, we're going to send 2 drones right in front of our Ash, and we're going to open things up with information. That has just not been happening with Ash or any other operator. You know, you just have somebody droning you in and giving you the info so you can capitalize on top of it. And Empire have been having a bit of trouble with that. Not too sure why. Again, it's more for Razor and his squad to try to figure out how to fix these problems. As right now, G2 are at the helm. They have entered the building and destroying the cam inside of 90. So entering luggage, taking control of that section. Usually it's very difficult to just walk into luggage, but in this case, this is the safest way of doing it, by just dropping into bathroom, walking in through there via into luggage, and having Virtue here supporting Citizen as they slowly take control of Aqua. G2 that is. I'm not sure though if Empire is planning anything play-wise from below with Nitro Cells and such. For now, G2 are definitely gaining the map control that is very necessary.
Shots through the floor, just very narrowly missing Karzeka, who was lying there prone, very patiently waiting. And there's an interesting setup, actually, that had been established onto that wall in hookah, or in billiards, rather. They left one of those panels soft and then electrified all the others. It's going to allow you to open that up, but you're going to gain very little from that. And I don't really know exactly what the thinking is behind Empire doing so. I mean, obviously, you can fully reinforce that wall. You usually have more than enough. Your surplus of resources when it comes to this particular site. 3 kills from G2 as they will claim the scoreboard for their own. A smoke will force Kanto Raketti out. Another smoke will go, and there's a pop-up from Karzeka. He can't land the shots necessary on the second member of G2, but he just find one in the process. Last toxic canister will go up from Shepard here as he plays along that electrified wall. And a peek from the Bandit, but he'll lose the fight to Pengu, who's been so darn good so far. He got the opening pick, and he's not going to get the last because it's going to instead be Uno. It was a push between Uno and Kanto Raketti at the same time, and basically a contest to see who would be the one to claim the scalp of the last member of Empire. Fast enough, G2 just as formidable as ever. They now are up 3-0 on the attack here on Coastline.
Honestly, this is pretty good. I mean, 3 rounds on the attack is where you're looking to be, which means you're setting yourself up for a good start to the second half if you're G2. Again, cycling between who's playing on the Ash. One thing I want to highlight, though, from G2 is that they're kind of running in the way that Empire used to on their attack. There's always someone droning the attackers in, or driving the spearhead forward, and it's not just blindly being thrown out in the wind. It's being casted with some sort of information behind it, with confidence in every move that you're making. And it seems like Empire are trying in vain to react to what G2 are bringing to the table. And I'm not sure what it really is, because G2 are putting their... Think of it like a game of chess. G2 are putting their pieces correctly on the parts of the board that are required as they're entering. You want to go and plant, make sure that there's somebody maybe watching from below, making sure that from blue there's no nitros going against you, make sure that there's somebody watching inside of circle, inside of lounge, pressuring from 90. All of that is there. G2 are doing it by the books. They're not reinventing the wheel, that's for sure. And Empire are maybe, and this is something very weird to say, might be playing it a bit passive, bit more passive than the usual. But I'm quite curious as to why we're seeing that shield there. You mentioned it like around a minute ago, and I'm very curious to hear this from Empire's players or coach or something, why that shield is being put next to that soft wall that's been opened up with a battery on it. Not here, but it was in the last round. So I know the shield is going to block people in 90, but not sure why you wouldn't just reinforce the full wall. Ooh, Pengu, a bit of damage done here to him from Kitchen, but Uno is on the case.
A bomb has been located.
It's a good peak for Empire. As you said, they might be playing a little bit too passively, a little bit maybe too conservatively in that case. Well, not really if they're able to take a chunk out of Pengu's HP, and, you know, he's going to lose 50% in the meantime. And there's very little committed by Empire, but the telltale signs of Empire being a bit too aggressive has been Dan taking damage early on. It's a play from Citizen now to possibly refrag as 2 members of Empire are positioned over by VIP. They'll get the opening pick for the very first time if you really look at it that way. But under the light right now, Citizen, he's on the cam. Does he know that? It's going away in the top right corner. He might not necessarily see that if he's running a 4x3, which I think Citizen does. So he might not actually seen that cam as he was getting marked the entire time.
So yeah, this spawning everybody. Dan is down and on the floor. They go for the finisher. Dan even had his feet up in the air. So pretty much given up. The Kanto Raketti and Pengu being taken away is already a huge advantage for Team Empire, and a round that might be going their way is G2 need usually an extra couple of bodies just in case. A drone hole being used actually to find one of the attackers. The Citizen and Virtue know what's up. They know that there's one player trying to cut off from the lobby, and Citizen is waiting. That's the Jaeger, I assume, a joystick. And the jig is up. They know you're going for this, and there's a Yokai drone being brought in forward by Scyther. Bit of work being done by the Jaeger, but that's unfortunately not going to land a kill. No damage done to the smoke that's playing inside of Aqua. Uno, in the meantime, will find Kajika, and players are thinning out on the site itself. Crossing in through 90. There's the kill, though, onto the Jaeger from Citizen. And Virtue, though, gets down through the entry here on the balcony. But Uno's taking control of the site. Virtue can get picked up. A free kill going the way of Uno. Is going to go for the plant. A very good position for him to be in. And he's going to get shot, though, from the side. The team kill from Citizen. But quickly refunded as Scyther is going to get shot down. This was a bit too hectic to call, to say the least. And they just walked right into sight for a plant. Man, that really was swinging back and forth through that entire round, and G2 somehow are just able to find the right position and info to capitalize.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of Empire not realizing where G2 was going to counterattack from. And honestly, that looked like kind of vintage G2 with the way that they used to play, where it's like they lose somebody, but they're not ever in a position where they're actually losing. They've got their sights set on the refrag pretty quickly. And it took a while for Citizen to get there, but he's able to find it. And Uno in particular, honestly, I've been really impressed with Uno in this matchup. Uno has had a little bit more opportunity, I think, to grow as I think he's the one doing primary IGLing now. At least he was doing a lot of the IGLing, even when Fabian was still on this team at the 6 Invitational. So this G2 look has been very good, and I mean it's Coastline. It's an attacker-sided map. You've got Capitao and you've got Lion banned out. There's a hard breacher available. G2 decides that they don't need one, and the way that Empire is setting up is, in large part, they're setting up like it would be beneficial for G2 to have one, but they've expended some of their lineup for that breach denial. Hasn't really been necessary, but man, Empire have not really been supporting each other the way that they need to. It feels like a lot of times it just comes down to Shepard and then either Karzeka or Shepard and Scyther as one of the last people alive, and very little people there to help them. The members of Empire that are off roaming are doing so largely unsupported. Dan in particular hasn't been as supported as well as I think he could be, and because of this, he's oftentimes playing to die. And that's fine. There are certain maps and certain setups that you can do where you play to die. Everything is, everybody's okay with that as long as your setup is stratted around that. Laxing, for example, is often playing unsupported. Skies in North America does that quite a lot. But in this case, my goodness, Citizen manages to take out Scyther. It looks like he was unsupported as well. Scyther was roaming deep down below, and another opening pick goes to G2.
That's such a great kill there. They just had the perfect information on him, and the moment Scyther turned to rotate away through the lobby, he got shot in the face, and information's being given in the meantime. Somebody's watching that drone so well, and that's Pengu right now. He knows what's up. He knows there's one player standing inside of that stalker in the kitchen, and just gonna fall back for the moment. But that is a big entry here for G2. 4 rounds already on the attack is huge, and you're inching yourself closer and closer to a 5-0. That's a reverse of what Empire was doing to Na'Vi and played at number 8.
Yeah, that was a very defender-sided Coastline, which was extremely unique for us to watch because this has always been one of the few maps in the map pool that are, the place for attackers to really shine. And I mean, the attackers are absolutely really shining, and it's kind of funny because they, G2 usually always wins on Monday, but that was because for the entire first half of the season, Kix and I casted Europe on Mondays, and now we're, you and I are casting now on Wednesday, and they're winning again. So maybe I'm G2's secret weapon here, but they've got the massive lead right under the nose of Shepard. The diffuser goes down. Splattered is Shepard as he throws out that very final toxic canister, and Dan in a 1v4 with the diffuser on the ground. He'll take down Pengu and drag him with him, but there's at least 2 separate trails of bullets that we see on the screen and 5 unanswered rounds in a row now for G2.
That was very much unanswered. I mean, G2 just had every single angle going for them as well in that assault. Even from the early pick, I mean, it was all off of great droning. I really wonder if Empire are ready for this once they go to their attacking side, because Empire have been running the same operator lineup, and I don't think the operator lineup is the mistake. It's just how passive Empire have been throughout the round, where they're just stagnating for a moment, but G2 are always doing something. That's something that's reflected in TSM, for example, in North America. This shuffle, I think, has worked so well so far for G2, just because it's brought players that maybe are a bit more proactive, and it's pushing them to be more aggressive around the map. And I don't want to just throw around the word aggressive there, as a lot of people do, but just saying, oh, they run around and get kills. No, they're actually surgically removing players from Empire. They're always drones giving you information. You saw the Ash threw in one drone. It was watched by the buck of Pengu in the meantime, so Citizen can go and confirm the kill on the alibi. Same went for firing down through into bathroom and into stock. All of that is done so well by G2. And the teamwork is shining so well. I don't know. It seems like Empire is taking 1v1s. They're not actually taking kind of team-supported gunfights. You saw just one of those yokai drones running around at some point a couple of rounds ago, but that was it. There was nothing to say, hey, we're in support of you. We're not even here in camera mode to give you info.
Well, a lot of that too needs to be credit paid to Uno as well. Not only is he doing great from a fragging perspective, but we've gotten to see, I think, 2 or 3 opportunities where his gadget has put in good work to take out those yokai drones and spot them. And he's also being used to try to track down Dan to a certain extent, which is helping people like Citizen, which is helping people like Virtue and Pengu get these frags. And speaking of, there's another opening pick, and it's on Dan, and it was largely unsupported by Uno, but it was Citizen and Pengu working together to push Dan into a position where Pengu was able to take him down. There's Pengu again. It doesn't even look like he was necessarily droned in. It was just him and Uno getting that call. And Scyther unsupported.
Shepard, just as Pengu dropped down on the floor, is able to collect the headshot, though, finally stopping the buck. But that's 2 big kills. The Echo being one of them, though, for Empire, means that your defense on the site itself is just so limited now. Flashbang's going to be thrown around the corner, understanding that there's an ADS on the other end of it. Joystick will find Uno in the meantime, as Citizen and Kenta Ricchetti are trying to double up against Kercheka, of all people, I believe. At least there's many angles to watch, and there's the headshot. Kanto swiftly dispatching of Empire's Kajika, making it a 3 versus 2. Joystick is pretty much the last alive here that can do much outside of the site, and is sitting in penthouse watching the diffuser that was dropped earlier by G2, losing one of the players going into that music hall and guitar. Citizens watching for reinforcements. Maybe Shepard is looking to go and support Joystick, but right now you're kind of out of options if you're Empire. You either stick to your location or you try to shuffle your way back to site somehow. And knowing at least where the diffuser is something that gives Joystick a bit of comfort. And he's going to definitely try and hold on to this as long as possible. Oh, so close to getting the head there. Oh, the perfect positioning, though, from Virtue is going to find the kill on Joystick. The air jab. Well done and well placed. But a well-placed headshot from Shepard is going to start to equalize numbers here and potentially turn it into a 1-1. But it's Virtue and Kenta Ricchetti is the last 2 alive and might have some utility to deal with the smoke.
A spot to find yourself in if you're Shepard. He's a dynamite player, but he's going to have to do an awful lot more work as he's now lost the plot of the round. Another diffuser going down. That's 3 for G2 in these 6 rounds, and immediately G2 will scamper off. One member will go under rappel, the other will head upstairs. It's the Zofia that's sitting upstairs watching those holes, and I don't know what you're going to have to do here if you're Shepard, but about half of that diffuser time has now been going down, and you're going to have to head on over to a very vulnerable spot. An opening above you is going to possibly be his tomb. I'll just choke off outside. Look above. He's going to try to cover his position and go for that diffuse. He fakes it, but he's running out of time. He's at 7 seconds. He picks up on Virtue, but he's under 7 seconds, and Kanto Ricchetti above. There's very limited time for Shepard there, and it's a perfect sweep of that first half. Kanto sees him and amidst the smoke makes easy work of a mincemeat of Shepard. 6-0 for G2. They are manhandling Empire right now.
You can say G2 are definitely back on match point. It's going to take a lot for Empire to claw their way back into it. However, we have seen things work against G2 where, you know, some teams were able to come back and make it a 7-5 victory. At least here, if you're a G2, you're guaranteeing 1 point at the end of the day. And when Empire is a team that can cause a lot of problems for EU and can really hinder you in getting into the top 2 of the region, this is the right moment for it. Not only are you winning your head-to-head, but you're winning it by a big margin. This just makes it that in case of a tie, G2 will have an advantage. And historically speaking, in online matches in PL, as you mentioned in the pre-game, it's all been G2. So they're just keeping up the strategy so far. And on the defense, we're going to see the Womai being brought up for Uno, Citizen out with a Vigil, Pengu on the Mute, Virtue on the Mozzie, and Kanto for the Jaeger. We've seen these combinations, Mozzie Mute, Womai Jaeger. This is just, it's so good. I love it. It's so frustrating to play against. And then you put Citizen, who has been fragging out of his mind, on a roll where he can just run around.
10 seconds left.
If you position the Mute Jammers and the Mossy Pests correctly, then Citizen can just run around unimpeded.
The one thing that this team has done an exceptional job of doing... Oh, hold on a second. I just hit my microphone. These things happen. I got a little too excited there. The one thing that these teams that I think has been really happening for G2, and people might get angry with the fact that we're giving such a large spotlight to G2, but there really hasn't been that many or that much good from Empire. There isn't really all that much that we can really dive into that we can give them commendation or credit for. It's largely been G2 just beating them every single step of the way, and I don't think has there been a 1v1 yet, or has it always been G2 with a numbers advantage at the final moment of a round? Because I'm pretty sure G2 has always had the upper hand there.
Always advantage for G2 in those locations.
And the one thing that G2, you know, to their credit, did the best, I think, is just they made space for each other really well. Their drone work was very much on top of its game. They were able to push out members of Empire right into the waiting arms of other members of G2, and there was nothing that could stop them. There was no answer that Empire had. They were running a Mozzie, they were running a Vigil. There was very limited opportunity for them on Empire's side to really do that much. And it's going to come close now as Virtue is down below. Uno takes a little bit of damage. They're both over by Cool Vibe stairs. Dan pops out. Virtue's not there. It looked like there was a magnet that was going to get tossed on up. And there it goes. So it might have actually gone up. As Pengu answers back onto a C4 and Karzeka, Mozzie's going to get droned out. There's no backup for him, though. So what do? Put some more pressure on the members that might be playing off-site. This is a double bars defense, so that Ash charge is going to go right over top of the roof of Sunrise Bar.
The beauty of the lineup from G2 is that it affords you to bring 2 Nitro cells. So between Pengu and Virtue, there is utility. You saw one of those Nitros being used to dispatch Karzeka, who's an amazing buck player, to say the least, just able to find great positions for himself to really sit into and just fire down from above onto unsuspecting defenders. But Shepard and, well, the rest of Empire are no slouches. They always have some extra backup recharges, so you're going to see a lot of that floorboard inside of oh, nice shot from Dan, but anything inside of Hookah is going to get destroyed very quickly. A big rotation back onto site here as there's 3 players left from G2. They're trying to go for gunfights here against Empire. The Zofia will take a lot of damage and just going to stick behind the shield. Can you even go for this gunfight? Yes, Pengu is going to win it out, not switching to the shotgun until later on in it to finish off Scyther. Citizen again with another one onto Joystick, and so close here, Kanto, to finding one more. Citizen will connect and will find Dan, and it's a 2v1. G2 at the helm is so close to making it a 7-0. Shepard full HP is going to dive into Kitchen. And his opponents, do they know that he's in here yet? They're going to know now. Pengu's going to go down. It's a 1v1 fight between Shepard and Kanto. Rickety will fire back. It's a headshot to take him out of the Jaeger. Sitting inside of Sunrise. A clean sweep. Perfect 7-0 from G2. Oh my. Oh me, oh my. What's happening? It's 2020. What?
Wamai. Oh my, wamai. There you go. Right front and center. Oh boy, I know. But
I thought I was casting with you, not Devin.
We need to get our mandated dad jokes in. What a perfect split though there from G2. Nobody really lagging behind. Virtue and Uno just a little bit off the top, but for the rest of that team, it was all very, very even. And man, the way